Let's start this video with the most generic shot that you can find on YouTube. Let's start with the sun so high up in the sky, and you've just woken up so late in the afternoon that it is just another day, another battle with insomnia lost. So first order of business, you wake up, grab your phone, and you're going to commit to your morning rituals. I tell myself today that today is going to be different. It's going to be the day that I'm going to get through all of my to-do list. And it starts with reading my email. Feels productive. Then you open your email and guess what? It's just mostly promotional junk. It's not exactly the biggest of accomplishments, but hey, at least you've actually stuck to doing something productive in the morning. And then a spark of motivation. Oh yeah, it's been so long since I've worked on a YouTube video. I better start scripting. I better work on the idea first. Oh no, what should I even talk about? Then poof, a notification. A new video from Alex Ramosi. Maybe if I just rationalize it as research, there's no problem in watching a video of him giving tips on what I can apply on my work later on. Then 22 long minutes in the bathroom later. Now I'm ready to be productive. My mind has been conditioned to get some work done. But oh my goodness, why is it so quiet? I just need something as background sound. Quick look over at YouTube, and I also have a few of these videos from my subscription. Let's just play one of the Asmon's new uploads. Without me realizing, I've been completely immersed to the video. Instead of working, I watched the entirety of another dude playing a video game which I'm not going to even play in my whole entire life. Just as I'm about to get back on track, just as I have my mind back in place, realize the time. Oh, it's time to go to the gym. Do not want to go later during peak hours. Now you fast forward after your workout and you're preparing your pre-made meal the day before. You thought to yourself, hey, might as well just watch another video since I'm having a meal. Meal has turned into a multi-hour long YouTube binge. Panic starts to seep in as you look at the time. The deadline for my work is looming, and in a moment of weakness, you got a burst of idea, and you get yourself comfy on the chair, ready to make the call, and you made it.
Yo, what up?
Hey, buddy. Remember the work that you gave me yesterday? So, yeah, about that, something came up, and I wasn't able to finish the job on time, so do you mind if I send it over tomorrow? And then you immediately feel a wave of relief, and it's only normal for you to get extensions at times, right? You never know what's going on in life. As soon as I get into bed, I knew it. Won't come as easy, would it? Well, I guess it's only easier if I just turn on a mind-numbing video so that I can fall asleep faster. Before I knew it, it's already 3 AM. To close my laptop, and I finally drift off, and the cycle repeats again over and over and over until you don't know when it's going to stop. Look, I'm sure many of us has gone through this process over and over, and I'm sure that a lot of you have seen many iterations of other YouTubers doing the same B-roll shots that I've just done. And quite frankly, it is starting to get concerning if a lot of people would normalize this kind of cycle. So I'm going to divide this video into 3 different sections, and I'm going to address this issue one by one, starting with the elephant in the room. It's the most obvious thing in the world, and it starts with this. Yeah, I can't pull out my phone right now. You're exactly what. I remember my first phone. My dad gave it to me when I was too young, if I'm being honest. It was when I was graduating elementary school, and that phone was the original BlackBerry Gold, I think. I'm pretty sure it was this model, but my brain wasn't exactly the most developed back then. But it was the golden days of phones, really. The only utility that I found from that thing was to text my parents using the BlackBerry Messenger. Normally I would just pull it out after school and text my mom that I'm done with school and can you pick me up? I would also message some of my friends who also own a BlackBerry. I haven't had the chance to download a lot of the OG games of the original smartphone, and I've also found myself falling for those scammy BlackBerry Messenger text messages where You have to send this message to a certain amount of people or a ghost will haunt you in your dreams later tonight. Pretty low IQ stuff, but man, I remember how simple things were back then. Yes, I was already watching YouTube. YouTube played a huge role for me growing up. I remember when YouTube was still the Wild West, when I was still watching Max Mofo, PewDiePie, a lot of Minecraft YouTubers, dodgy K-dramas, which I don't think children should watch. However, I only watched those videos on an old iPad that was a hand-me-down from my brother, and no cope, but I can safely say that I was still living a normal kid's life, well, judging by the deteriorating standards of that time. Until 2014 came and I started going to junior high. I remember going on a trip with my family to Hong Kong, but I remember my dad bringing me to a second-hand smartphone shop over at Mong Kok, and he got me my very first touchscreen smartphone. It was the LG G2, and things from then on started to change for me. As I've said, it was touchscreen. It had access to the Google Play Store. I downloaded Angry Birds, Talking Tom, and other dog poo games. But most importantly, this brick has given me the access to YouTube at any given time. I mean, I have all the reasons for becoming a secluded geek, and I've also found myself watching more and more creators like Machinima way back when with Inside Gaming, started following a lot of other Minecraft YouTubers. But luckily I was quite the extrovert, no cope, but I still had a life outside of the digital world. But at that point I can safely say that YouTube has completely taken a huge portion of my life. And looking back, I can safely say that I was fortunate enough to have a smartphone way back when it was still quite a luxury for a lot of people. Until I remember going into high school, which was grade 11, and that was when I switched from a phone that I had, a Galaxy S9. I hated that phone. It was burning hot whenever I tried to use regular apps, and it drains your battery so much that I can't even get through it for a single day. I mean, my phone was dead right after I finished school, which was probably the most important time that I need my phone to be alive. But I switched from that horrendous melting brick to probably my most favorite smartphone that I've ever owned in my life, which was the Xiaomi Redmi Note 7. Oh, that phone. I remember holding that phone. That phone was slim. It had battery life for days. The camera quality was okay, but it was enough for me. At that point, I played the occasional Mobile Legends with my friends. I've also played that really dumb farming simulator game that you might have heard. It's called Growtopia. But the key point that I want to drive in is how inexpensive that phone was. You know, as companies achieve what we call economies of scale, technology is going to be way cheaper and way more accessible for the people. And it has come to a point back then where a lot of people in the elementary school have already got their own smartphones. Look, for a country with high poverty rates, it's quite surprising to know how many of us already own a smartphone. I don't think it's truly justifiable to call it a smartphone. Way back when Alexander Graham Bell invented the phone as we know it, he defined the phone only by its utility, and that is to transmit vocal and other voices telegraphically, or in other words, voice from one end, sound from the other. And a smartphone today is more than just that. Just think about how dependent we've become to these things. It's not only intended to make voice calls, but it's also your messenger. It is your GPS, your music player, your entertainment system, all in one, easily accessible at your convenience. Now that we've discussed smartphones, let's talk about the things that we do with it and what I think, without proper regulation, can do more harm than good. Okay, I'll just say it outright. The things that you find entertaining these days are horrible. They are degrading in quality. All of us love reading memes, and sadly memes have reached a point where the quality has degraded that it doesn't even need to be comprehensible for one. They no longer need to appeal to a specific part of an audience, a community that you have to be part of just to understand what's the meaning or context behind a meme. They can just be like this
Come play
to
with
be
me.
funny. I mean, look at this. How can anyone
Yes,
of
Daddy.
sound mind think that watching this
No,
is an
Daddy.
effective use of their time? Look, I might sound condescending, and I admit, when the algorithm has latched onto me with their gripey little claws and trapped me into its system, I also watched those Slop. And you might also be wondering now, look, I see the connection between smartphones and brainrot Slop, but it is a bit far-fetched to put the blame solely on smartphones. And you're right, and I'm not going to put the blame solely on smartphones either. But let me talk about boredom and how it plays in all of this. Boredom has always been an integral part of the human condition or psyche, and it is only natural that we want to fill that void of boredom with something, entertainment perhaps. Historically, even going back to ancient Rome, we've always had a form of entertainment. Way back when they had colosseums, they had chariot races. Moving forward to medieval Europe, we have man sticking pointy sticks at each other while riding a horse. Centuries later, even during the economic crisis, Hollywood, the film industry, was thriving with really cheap cinema tickets. As the ancient Rome poet Juvenal famously once said, "Give them bread and circuses and they will never fall." And it is as plain as the day that we can see it play out right now. Entertainment throughout the days sort of maintain order, if you'd like to call it, keeping the masses' minds occupied a lot of the time. And you might also be asking now, really, are you really going to attack entertainment? Absolutely not. Of course, there are times and places where entertainment can, help you blow off some steam. But there is a specific problem with brain rot or any forms of cheap entertainment these days. At least when we have to go back with the examples that I've provided. These forms of entertainment, you can only get them with at least a degree of effort put into it. Say, for example, you might need to move from place A to place B, or maybe you're going to have to pay to get access to all of them. And if we dig deeper into this video, we're going to have to talk about dopamine. If you're somewhat interested in optimizing your life, self-improvement if you call it, discerning your purpose, being more productive, it is most likely the case that you've heard of this word dopamine. While it is important to talk about the intricate neuroscientific term of the word dopamine, for the sake of this video, I'm just going to stick with the caveman Tarzan definition of it, which means good things equal and good things gone equal. Somewhere along the line, we have become so lazy that we have become quite reliant on these forms of lazy entertainment. We have somehow increased our baseline for being entertained, so that simple pleasures can only be accompanied by watching a Subway Surfer gameplay. Okay, give me one sec, my laptop's going to die. Do you see what I'm trying to get to here? With brains that have yet to evolve within the past 2000 years, we now have access to anything, anywhere, at any given time. This reminds me of this quick documentary that I've watched. It was about a tribe called the Marubo. So what happened was, back in 2023, they were given access freely by Starlink to basically reliable, fast internet access. Now, soon after, it was reported that the people in the tribe, especially the children, are becoming more attached to their devices. They have now somehow spent a lot of time on their devices, playing games, watching videos, and whatever. It has come to the point that the tribe leaders are becoming more worried, and they're just not happy at all. Look, think about it. High-speed internet access for emergency stuff is amazing, right? It has become such a double-edged sword that rather than using it for that, they would use it more for this. I swear these memes are becoming so addictive and so amusing that they often ignore nuanced jokes that would usually need a structure, a build-up, and often ended with a punchline, and you just immediately laugh every time you get a glance at it. And again, all of us have access to them for free, provided you have, internet connection. At any time, all you do is just pull out your phone, and with a simple tap, you're in. Look, I've been working on the script of this video for quite a long time now, yeah, far longer than I would like to admit. And mostly I'm quite unsure on how I should conclude it. Should I provide you with a solution? Well, I could, and I will. I can tell you about the numerous heaps I've taken to tackle this issue. I recommend downloading this app called 1sec, which limits you from accessing these social media apps by catching you right before you access the apps themselves. I found it to be useful, and it was quite cheap for a annual subscription. I've also tried time blocking, making a schedule for tomorrow and time blocking some of the hours where you can access entertainment can also be helpful. You just need to have enough self-discipline to stick to it. My biggest vice, if you haven't got it from what I've talked about so far, is YouTube. So of course I'm going to limit my time on YouTube, maybe 2 or 3 hours max in a day. And while I don't think this is the most optimal of solutions, but you can also consider switching to a dumb phone like a Light Phone 3, which I think the device itself makes too many compromises that I don't think I can function as a regular human being after switching to that phone, which again emphasizing how much we've become so attached to our phones. And of course, you can always keep yourself busy, reminding yourself that there's more work to be done, reminding that, oh yeah, you have a life outside of the digital world. Hopefully you have friends that you can call and you can at least interact with in the real world out there. And I hope, fingers crossed, God willing, that governments are going to tackle this issue as well. Most recently, I've heard that Australia has snagged a really huge win by banning social media for people under the age of 16. Specifically TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Reddit, X. If I have to be at least a tiny bit critical, I just can't see how that is going to be the ultimate solution for this problem. Because a lot of us get the news, get information from social media, but I suppose you can look for it elsewhere. And I suppose that as well is a pretty weak argument, since parents can set up the accounts for them. And hey, as long as we get rid of these young narcissists who make a living for being controversial for the sake of being controversial, I'm all for it, I guess. But all of those things often fall short if we don't address the deeper issue. Applying these solutions without understanding the underlying problem is like, let's face it, it's like applying Band-Aid on a gaping wound. Now, all of you might find this video in different stages of your life. You might come across this video by accident. Some of you might be aware of the problem and you're actively looking for solutions, and others might be desperate. I might be over exaggerating, but I'm part of the latter. And I suppose it all comes down to your purpose in life. Look, there are numerous other videos that specifically focuses on purpose and what you should do in life to live a fulfilling and to a certain extent happy life. But I'm just going to keep things simple. I want all of us to ask ourselves what we want to achieve in life. What are the current things that we are doing conducive for achieving those goals that we've set? And for me personally, there are a lot of things that I can work on. So ladies and gentlemen, I can say that I am quite in a stalemate right now. I know that I have to get things in order, but oftentimes I keep making the same mistakes over and over again. So to conclude this video, I am going to end with a quite interesting topic that I believe not a lot of people address in a lot of these sorts of videos. It is quite literally a conclusion. These past few nights, just before entering my chamber of dreams, I would read my favorite bedtime story, which is Preparations for Death by Saint Alphonsus Liguori. Yeah, that is quite the read before you go to sleep. Regardless if you're religious or not, this is truly a phenomenal book. and I believe everyone should read it. And the point that the book has made that I want to drive home is this: death is certain. We do not know when it comes, and it is in our best interest to be mindful of that every time we can. Time is precious, and regardless of your age and relative health, death can come to you at any given moment. I want to tell you a personal story of mine, and it happened just before I go through my university stage in life, and that was more like 4 years ago, which damn, time flies by so fast. One day I was playing GTA RP with my friends, and we were in a Discord call until one of our other friends joined the call and told us about a very unsettling news that a friend of ours has got into a motorcycle accident and has died. Afterwards, I remember that we went silent for a few minutes, and without saying anything to each other, we drop off the call to get ourselves dressed and go to the what you call the wake service. And that friend of ours was supposed to move to Jakarta just weeks prior moving to Jakarta for his university studies. Look, out of respect for his family, I'm not going to go into details and I'm not going to mention his name, but the accident happened when he was going back home riding his motorcycle when he was hit by a truck. Look, I wouldn't say that we were back then was the closest of friends, but our interactions were cordial. I know for a fact that he was a good person, and I thought he would have a bright future ahead of him, given his mindfulness and his intelligence and his academic achievements. And that afternoon, when we went to the wake service, the sight of the boy's parents and his family was truly disheartening. They were in distraught, and I can't imagine what they were feeling going through that experience. Look, no parents in this world should come to the funeral of their own children, and that's just how it is with life. It can be cruel at times. Every time I remember, I keep them in my prayers, and also I pray for my buddy's soul. So to conclude this video, I invite you to at least reflect on what you've been doing in life. Are you chasing menial things that in the grand scheme of things are not important? And at any given moment, if God has decided to take your life from you, can you say for certain that you have tried to do good and you have lived a fulfilling life? These questions you have to be able to answer, and it is really important with how short and limited our lives are. And meditating on the mysteries of death surely has reminded me, at least, of what's truly important, one of which is being productive, and it has also led me to making my YouTube channel of, instead of consume endless consumption of media, try to create something, try to connect to people as much as I can. I'm going to end off this video with a really based quote by a poet that we dearly loved, which was from Benedict XVI. But the quote goes, "The world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness." I hope that this video has served as a reminder for all of us. Thank you for watching. God bless. Goodbye now.